It's life over on Earth, too, where the polls aren't what all the polls are. Hi again, everybody. It's now 5 o'clock in New York. With that backdrop, the horrendously and historically low approval numbers for Donald J. Trump. Voters are heading to the polls today in 5 states for their primaries: Kansas, Missouri, Virginia, Washington, and the all-important swing state of Michigan, making decisions that will have massive implications for the direction of the country and how the second half of Donald Trump's term as president will go. Over the past week, Trump has seen poll numbers lower than he's ever seen before. 34% approval in the newest CNN poll. 33% of Americans approve of him, according to the Associated Press, and just 32% of Americans approve of the job Donald Trump is doing as president in the latest Quinnipiac survey. The New York Times puts these numbers in historical perspective, writing this, quote, "The latest surveys indicate that Trump is now all but the most unpopular second-term president at this stage of their tenure in the history of polling, going back to the 1940s. The only exception is not one that would give Trump much solace. Richard Nixon had even less public support at this stage in his second term, but at that point he was days away from resigning over the Watergate scandal. With just under 3 months to go before November's midterms and Trump's polling deep underwater, it could and should spell disaster for Republicans, as the Times points out. Quote, "The worry for Republicans is not just that voters disapprove of Donald Trump's handling of the presidency, but that they strongly disapprove, suggesting that they would be more motivated than Trump loyalists to show up this fall." And there's another notable marker. According to the latest findings from Reuters Ipsos, Americans pick Democrats over Republicans as better stewards of the economy for the first time in nearly a decade. The economy, the single issue Donald Trump won the 2024 election by campaigning on, is now viewed by the American people as something that would be better handled if Democrats were in charge. That's where we begin the hour. Some of our favorite experts and friends. Political analyst, host of the Bulwark podcast, Tim Miller, makes his triumphant return from vacation. We missed you. Jen Palmieri is also back with us. We're so happy to see you. She's the host of Crooked Media's Long Play podcast. She was a White House communications director under President Obama. So nice to see both of you. So Tim, while you were gone, Donald Trump actually got a little bit crazier and a lot more unpopular. Your thoughts about where he stands in the polls?
I don't know if he could have gotten any crazier, Nicolle, but he could have done additional crazy things.
Yeah.
So we'll quibble. I just want to say I'm happy to see Jen Palmieri, my former pal on the circus and elsewhere. It's been a minute since I've seen her. Look, he's not doing anything to make himself more popular. And this thing, sometimes I feel like you analyze Trump and he gets analyzed separately from other politicians because he has broken a lot of typical political, obviously, norms and traditions, and he's done things that nobody else could do and survived it. And so, people kind of grade him on this weird separate curve, where he has a press conference and they talk about it, and where if any other politician had that press conference, they would say this person needs to resign soon, or this person is going to lose their mind. Trump gets graded differently. But one thing that is just the same is that if people don't feel like their needs are being met, or that their concerns are being addressed, then they're going to look for other options. And Donald Trump, say what you want about him in the first term and even in the campaigns, he was always crazy, and sometimes he had to be brought back by his advisors, but he always at least pretended to care about people, right? And pretended to care about what the MAGA base wanted, and he was always somewhat in touch with the MAGA base because he's having these rallies and hearing their response. And he just has totally lost that between the war, economy, prices. We're putting gold everywhere in the Capitol now. And he doesn't even seem to have a plan. There's no message. There's no kind of idea for what he was going to do to address prices, to end the war. And so I do think that's creating a big opportunity for Democrats, and I'm not that surprised that his numbers have slipped to where they are. Unfortunately, we're so polarized that they probably need to go even lower because of and we'll talk about this, because of the kind of states Democrats need to win the Senate. Some of the states Jen's covering on that podcast, but our states he won by so much. But I think that it's not looking good.
Jen, your thoughts on just where he is right now, and frankly, the other side of this is just how long and how completely historic the political negligence has been. I mean, treating his voters, as Tim knows, this triggers me more than anything else, treating his voters like garbage, that they're so dumb, they're to believe that the elections in 16 had integrity and Trump won, the elections in 24 had integrity and Trump won, but to deliver a primetime address and say the only elections that had no integrity were the ones I was in charge of in 2020, that's the state of his relationship with the very loyal MAGA voter.
You know, there's something about this having gone on for, you know, when his second term ends, it will have been 13 years that we will have been dealing with Donald Trump, right? Because the year that he ran,
feels like 49.
I know, but it's like, I think it matters that it's happened over that, like, it's been very particularly corrosive because it's gone on for so long, and he just seems exhausted by it all now, right? I mean, he used to be able to act like he cared, and so many people supported him because they felt like he, even as wealthy as he was, he understood what their lives were like, he had the same kind of values, he was going to look out for them, and now he's actively telling people, I'm not, I think inflation is fine, everything's great, and he's just focused on what arcs he can build in the Capitol and the reflecting pool and more gold in the White House. And it just seems like all about legacy. And it's August. It is August, but it's only August of 2026. We have 2+ more years to get through with this.
Yeah, I mean, Tim, the numbers don't suggest that the next 2+ years are going to be anything resembling, I want to say a picnic, but Trump's never been to a picnic, like a carriage ride for Donald Trump. In terms of who voters blame for the price at the pump, 72% blame Donald Trump, some or a whole lot. I mean, that's basically everybody except, I don't know, the people in his own motorcade. There's no escaping his culpability in the affordability crisis.
No, that's nothing he always used to be good at, blaming other people, pointing the finger, not taking responsibility. But he got into this Iran war, which was stupid from the start, obviously stupid. It was a betrayal of his voters. That's obviously the reason why gas prices were up. And if you look at like COVID, for example, he's able to blame a million people. You can blame the Chinese, you can blame Fauci, you can blame Democrat. People could say, well, who could have predicted this virus would come? Like, this was not that. It was not some exogenous event, right? It was like he started this war after promising that he wouldn't, and now you're paying more. So obviously people are going to blame him. And I think the people being beaten down in the 13 years, that Jen was talking about, I was watching a clip of this podcast, this guy Sean Ryan, he's a very popular military kind of bro podcast, and he seemed so beaten down. I've never seen a podcaster so beaten down. Like, he had gotten on board with Trump, he was excited about it, and like the energy on this podcast, where he's like, I think he's talking with Tucker, it was just like, I can't believe it. Like, who am I going to have to hope for anymore? Right? I do think a lot of his excited supporters are now just like, how can I get excited about this anymore? Like, it's hard for me to like get up, if you're being paid millions on Fox to do it, you can do it. But for a lot of other people, it's like, how can I get up the energy in the morning to be like, I'm really excited about the triumphal arc. I'm like really excited that we're fighting with Jeanine Pirro about, the reflecting pool. He's not giving them anything to be excited about.
Well, the other thing, Jen, that's amazing to me is we've covered his time in politics as the most divisive time, right? Where, I've started calling it Earth 1 and Earth 2. But, rent's going up over on Earth 1 because the only people on Earth 2 they're these micro minorities. So 72% of all voters agree that Trump is to blame for gas prices going up. 80% of all voters believe that the current economy is either getting worse or staying the same. So there's not a division in this country in terms of people feeling like absolute garbage about the economy and blaming Trump for it. That is actually an issue now in year 13, as you point out, that unites 70 to 80% of all Americans. That's extraordinary, open, soft terrain for Democrats.
I saw a story in the Clarion Ledger today in Mississippi that has Trump's approval rating has dropped to 46%, which I think is the lowest it's ever been in the state of Mississippi. And On the show that we're doing, we've been to, it's focused on the South, right? So we've been to Georgia, Texas, North Carolina, Tennessee. We're in South Carolina now. And the one thing, well, first of all, in Tennessee, we passed a Trump superstore that had a monster going out of business sign. I mean, like a 3-story going out of business sign. Everything must go. You can see that next week. You can see that footage next week. But it feels like, and what's good about it, I'm happy to tell both Nicolle and Tim this, is that because Trump is not ideological and so many of his supporters were not, just your conventional conservative Republican, people seem really open now to other alternatives, no matter what the party is.